Ladies and gentlemen, members of the opposition, fellow members of the proposition, I'm here to extend the case that this House would require prenuptial agreements before marriage. I'm going to begin with some rebuttals. I'm going to tie further of them in as well into my points. But let me just begin. This idea, well, the government shouldn't be forcing a contract. I'm sorry, what exactly do you think a marriage is? It is a contract enforced by the government. That's exactly what it is. That's what it has been for literally a millennia. You know, yes, there was a time 2,000 years ago when marriage was literally just a spiritual union. You went to the priest and that was it. But it's always been a contract as far as anyone can remember. And the government has always set up requirements. Such as in Ireland, you have to wait, you have to register if you want to get married 90 days before you get married. Because the government doesn't want to have these like Las Vegas weddings, like you wake up and you're married to someone you don't even know their last name, and your mom would be so ashamed, and that kind of thing. So instead, so the idea of the government imposing rules for marriage, it's not a new thing at all, which the opposition seems to pretend that it is. We also have to understand there are reasons why the government should be enforcing rules, and this is, for example, divorces take up a lot of space and a lot of capacity of the court system because couples sue and counter-sue each other. They appeal. There's just a lot of bitter emotions. That's a lover scorned, as they say. And so by having a prenup, you have a framework already for what you are working from. Now the opposition talks, these prenups are going to be so unfair. Some of them are going to have an expert lawyer. No, not necessarily. As long as you actually read the prenup, you should have a pretty good idea about what it is you're signing. And already today, prenups can be shut down if it's very clear that one person didn't read this. So that is not exactly a new thing. So we also have this. We also need to not right now, thank you. We also need to consider that it is not just assets that are allocated in a prenup; it is also debt. And this brings us on to, because the first opposition speaker talked about patriarchy and how prenups are strengthening patriarchy, presumably because she thinks that women are going to get screwed because men normally earn more than women. But here's the thing: it can also protect the woman if her husband, who is more indebted than her because maybe he has a study debt, maybe he's been educated long, and maybe he, like me, has 90,000 euro in study loans, for example. And in the case they split, unless there is a prenup, well, guess what? That debt is now split evenly. It doesn't really matter that you had nothing to do with getting it. So, and this also brings us onto my second point here. Without a prenup, you can very easily end up in a hostage situation. If you don't have a prenup, if you haven't decided, who gets what, and your marriage starts to fail, or fail badly, maybe perhaps it even gets abusive, then you may hesitate to get divorced because, well, you're gonna lose this, you're gonna lose that, you're gonna get indebted for life, or you're gonna lose the family farm, or whatever it may be. And that can make people stay in marriages that are clearly unhealthy and perhaps even dangerous. And yes, I'll take your point.
Prenups can be written in this same way to force this hostage situation. If a prenup is written in an unbalanced way, then you end up with someone who's in a hostage situation. We contend that the government is a much better arbiter in this situation than the partisan lawyers of each side.
First of all, the government is always the arbiter on behalf of the fact that the government has the court system. So, and the court system is always arbitrating regardless of prenup or no prenup. So the prenup is merely providing a framework that reduces the likelihood of this happening. Yes, it could still happen theoretically, but in most cases, like with abusive relationships, they're not abusive at the time when the marriage begins. They become gradually over time. So we also need to consider now the fact that, you know, marriage is fundamentally, as I mentioned earlier, it's fundamentally an economic agreement. The government regulates all forms of economic agreements, essentially. There's always been rules. There's always been marriage. Is basically has become a free zone, basically, where you can enter a marriage haphazardly without dealing with these kinds of questions, which you would have to if you were in any agreement that was not a marriage. And this, no, thank you. And this also leads to poorly thought out marriages, because when you don't force prenups, what happens is that people can get married and having never considered what's going to happen to future kids, debt, the family farm, the Star Wars collection, or whatever, in case they ever do split up, and this then creates a burden for society through the court system. And these are the kind of issues that you should have to consider before you get married. And so, in conclusion, marriage is and has always been a contract. It has always had rules set by the governments. This is merely a new set of rules that would stop or mitigate the problem of abusive marriages and hostage situations, that would create a cooling off mechanism, allowing for couples to actually sort out the issues before they actually have trouble. And it would also free up the capacity of the court system. And for these reasons, I am more than happy to propose.